All right, Jeff Shapiro. Lawmakers are returning to Richmond next week for what they call a reconvene session. Sometimes it's called a veto session. They'll consider all the vetoes, they'll consider all the amendments that the governor made to all the legislation. And Jeff Shapiro, I understand the concept of having this session is somewhat recent in Virginia history. Is that right?
Well, yes, over the Mesozoic period, that is Virginia's political history. The governor only got the veto in 1870, and it was 110 years later that the Virginia Constitution was amended by a vote of the people to require almost immediate consideration of a governor's veto. That amendment, approved in 1980, was early days in my presence here in Virginia as a political reporter. Of course, for the governor's veto to be overridden, it requires a two-thirds vote of the House, a two-thirds vote of the Senate as well. For the most part, gubernatorial vetoes tend to stand, though that's not a hard and fast rule.
All right, so it seems like most of the governor's vetoes will end up standing, which means all the real action for the reconvene session will be on the amendments. Which amendments are you going to be watching out for next week?
Several bills come to mind. First, essentially creating new misdemeanors for possession of marijuana to more than 2 ounces. Remarkable, considering that it was only a year ago Virginia legalized weed, first state in the South to do so. There's a Loudoun County School Board bill, sort of housekeeping. Governor has amended it to require a snap election this fall for the trustees of that 81,000 student system. Of course, Loudoun County ground zero in this debate over wokeness, instrumental in Youngkin's election to governor as governor last year. Finally, the so-called facial recognition technology bill, sort of this big brother technology that would be plastered all around towns and counties and used by the cops. The amendment that the governor is proposing would require that the cops be educated in the use of this technology, which still makes a lot of people nervous about, if you will, unconstitutional searches.
So, Governor Glenn Youngkin is joining a long list of Virginia governors over the years who have tried to use their time in office to create a national profile for themselves. He's creating a political action committee, he's creating a nonprofit. Jeff Shapiro, what's the latest with Governor Youngkin?
Well, of course, Youngkin's victory last year, Republican governor, a bluish state, right after the Biden sweep here in Virginia, that certainly elevated him in terms of national stature. He's creating a PAC and a 501c4 to raise money to maintain his profile here in Virginia, but also beyond Virginia's borders. It seems that there is rarely a Virginia governor elected in those off years who doesn't get a lot of national attention and who's suddenly, shall we say, weakened by a sense of Potomac fever.
Let me ask you a quick question about that nonprofit. What are the disclosure rules in terms of transparency of who is contributing to that?
Not terribly transparent under the tax laws. The donors to those groups don't have to be disclosed immediately, as they would under the rules that govern the political action committees nationally and in the state. Those donors would be identified at the end of the tax year after they've been spent.
Well, that's all the time that we've got for this week. We'll be back next week when we will tell you what happened during the reconvene session. My name is Michael Pope, and we've been joined by Jeff Shapiro of the Richmond Times Dispatch. Talk to you next week.
See you then.